Hi, welcome. Today we're going to be looking at part two of The Lovers, Do You Love Me? And we're going to be looking at some very different decks. If you didn't see part one, you might want to go back and look at that first. In that video, we looked at images of the card when it was first just called Love back in the 1400s to its evolution into the Lover's card as we know it in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and then some variations of that. And then we look at two outsider decks, the Deviant Moon deck and the Next World Tarot. If you haven't seen the first one and you enjoy this one, I hope you go back and see the arc of how this card developed from a card that was simply called Love through all of the different kinds of interpretations that these artists have given it and have seen. And I am very happy as a poet to be able to add my voice to that tradition. So thank you for being here, and let's get going. This next card is from a new deck. I somehow was never drawn to this particular deck, but I'm so glad now that I have it. This is a deck that was designed by Rachel Pollack, and I have been reading her book, A Walk Through the Forest of Souls, and that certainly has helped me in understanding the deck. One of the things about Rachel Pollack is that she is willing to ask the big questions, and she sees this Lovers in a very different way. And I think I'd like to read the poem before we talk about it. It's called Yearning. They yearn for each other. One wants the taste of oranges, the smell of coffee, the touch of wind and sun and skin. The other, needing the deep ocean of feeling we are all one. Between the two hills, we glimpse the mother's face. Bliss when spirit and matter marry. So this is not about marriage as we usually think about it, but this is that deep place that Rachel Pollack likes to go into. What we're seeing here is a human being and an angel mating in the sky, and they yearn for each other. And I thought about that, about, well, what is it that an angel yearns for? And, or a spirit, someone without a material body. And I thought, well, what would I would miss? I would miss orange juice and the smell of coffee, the feel of sun and wind and rain on my skin, the feel of other people's skin. I would miss that. But as a human being, what I miss is that understanding that we are all one, that ability to carry that knowledge around with me all the time, that spirit somehow always has. And so this coming together, this marriage of angel and human, is a marriage, but it is also the moment of birth. And if you look at the landscape that Rachel Pollack has drawn, you can see two hills with a smaller hill or mountain in the back. And what she says is, at the moment of birth, the first thing that we see is our mother's two knees up, and at the far end of it we see the mountain here, which is her face. So this actually is not just a marriage, it is the moment of birth, the moment when angel or spirit marries flesh. It is the moment when we become human. And so I thought this was a fascinating, very, very different take on the Lovers. And also putting it into the idea of choice. This is a choice we make depending on how you see the world. Perhaps we have been born many times. Perhaps we are spirits that yearn to take on a body so that we can experience this world. And if that is the case, you know, what's our job here on this world? So it becomes just such a profound card. This is a card both of marriage and of birth. I love that she made the landscape the way she did and explained it that way. The trees, I don't remember what she said about the trees, but to me, those are the two trees that were in Eden. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. And why can't we have both? Why is the knowledge of good and evil a bad thing? Why were we not allowed to have that? And why were we denied the tree of life? So both of those trees are there, and they are growing out of the river. And Rachel uses the river over and over again to, sometimes it's in the sky, sometimes it's on the ground, but it is that deep river of consciousness. This is the deep river of consciousness that tells us that we are all one. This is the deep river of consciousness that we dip into for our intuition when we do readings, when we ask deep questions, when we are on a spiritual journey. And this card would intimate that we are always on a spiritual journey, that we are a spirit that has taken on human form for this lifetime, and that presumably there's something we're supposed to learn, and presumably there's something that we're supposed to do. And so this card becomes a card that, I'm going to use another word, that is a marriage, that is a birth, and that is in some ways also a pregnancy, because it is pregnant with life. These two come together, become a human being, and then are so full of the possibilities of what they can learn, what they can do as this married form of spirit and human. So I am sure I'm going to be looking at this card many times. I'm just getting to know this deck, but I immediately fell in love with the Lovers and wanted to share it with you. This next card is from the Fey Tarot, another deck that is very lighthearted in some ways, but has some pretty scary looking Fey creatures on it. I was very drawn to this because of the sort of ogre-ishness of this creature, who is made of possibly rock or possibly some harsh skin that has spikes coming out of it. Not a beautiful creature by most standards. And then there is this sylph, this air fairy coming down, who is almost transparent and is very, very delicate. And he obviously adores her. And likewise, she comes down and she trusts him so much that she lands on his finger, on her head, very playfully. So thinking about this as a lover's card was an interesting adventure for me. It came to me before the Shining Tribe, and yet in some ways it's about that same moment. So I want to read the poem, which is called Moment. He is all rough flesh, sitting in this pile of rock on this cliff by the edge of the sea. Horns grow from his skin, on arms and legs and shoulder. His skin could be thin bark, growing thorns, his hair in spikes, jaw heavy, his hands massive, but graceful, as he extends a finger to the woman tumbling toward him. She is all air, delicate and thin-limbed. You can just make her out against the blue sky. her smooth skin and small breasts. She flies to him, balances on his outstretched finger, caresses his face with her hand. This is the sacred moment. She is all delicateness, and he is all the opposite. So this coming together of opposites is not exactly like the spirit and matter, but I feel like there's a big similarity here. He is rough. He is all the things of earth that are perhaps difficult for someone who is Fey, who is, I don't know if she's made of air, but she certainly, this one seems to be connected with air. She's almost transparent. There is this incredible moment of tenderness, and as with the woman coming out of the mirror, she caresses the side of his face. It's such a tender gesture and so intimate. It can be almost more intimate than, a big embrace. There's something so delicate and so careful and so cherishing about just touching someone's face like that. I love their eyes. I love that they can't take their eyes off each other, and that this moment of them somehow committing themselves to each other, and we don't even know how that's going to happen. Is this spirit and matter coming together in birth the way it is in the Shining Tribe, or is this something different? I'm not even quite sure, but it feels like it is a sacred moment. If I got this in a reading, I guess I would think about what are those parts of me that are in opposition in some way, and how do I bring them together? Is there some way that these two opposing parts of me can make peace? Is there some way they can extend compassion, at least, to each other, and perhaps even grow to love each other? Because we don't all love all the parts of ourselves, and sometimes we feel like that outsider, that monster that is on the side of the hill. But can we love that? Can we, again, I'm going to quote that, can we fly our freak flag and just love ourselves? Can we know that that spirit that is coming down to us from the sky is part of us too? And even if it's not visible to the world, it is part of who we are. So this marriage or lover's card can also feel like another shadow work card in some ways. What part of us feels freakish? What part of us feels left out, an outsider, prickly? What is it we're showing the world, when we're showing our thorny side, and what's happening on the inside? And can we understand that thorny side and love it, and perhaps help heal it? I do love this as a lover's card. I think it's, obviously miles and miles away from just celebrating the marriage of a couple. This is much deeper than that. And like the Shining Tribe, I think this is a card that can be used, to go into those deeper places. This is the Fey Tarot, and that's my take. Well, I almost missed this one. And then I happened to be going through the Sasurabaito. This is another tarot that I'm really just getting to know. And I was struck with the similarities between this image and the image of the old man who was the fool dancing under the tree. And I thought, look at this, all these lines. Look at this movement. This lover's card is so, it is just movement. And it is that sacred moment where in many traditions like Tantra, for example, it is believed that you can touch the infinite, that you can be in that consciousness of everything being one. This embrace of two naked bodies, it's very almost abstract, the colors are the same as with the old man. So I was very drawn to it, and I just thought, well, let me put in another card here where there's dancing going on before we go on to the last few cards that we'll be doing. So I will read the poem that goes along with this. Like the old man under the cherry tree, these two are naked. Like him, they are dancing. But this dance sends whirling streams around them so fast and intense, they are almost invisible. And I wanted to talk about this this act of physical love, of making love, and how it can be, you know, just for fun, and it can be very light, but how it can also be a door. It can be a door into the infinite. It can be a door through which your ego consciousness completely disappears and you are one, not only with your lover, but with the entire cosmos. And for me, this card expresses that so well, because they almost disappear. We see them, they're embraced, they're fitting together, they're entangled, and they are loving each other. Those red lines of passion are just extraordinary. But I see also the white that's going on, which is telling me that there's something going on spiritual in this lovemaking. This is not just mad fling. This is that kind of sexuality in which you touch the sacred, and that is one of the things that is missing so much in Western religious thought and philosophical thought, but is acknowledged in the East, especially through Tantra, but through other ways as well, as being one of the doors. You can go and you can meditate at a mountain for 40 years, but if you find your sort of true soulmate, you can also make love, and that can be a door into the infinite, into that sense of I am not separate. I am, and we think of the lovers as just, two coming together, and yet when you have that feeling, you realize you are coexistent with everything in the cosmos. Your whole sense of I disappears. It's like the universe making love to itself, and realizing itself. It's also in the Fey card, and in the card we saw before it, there's this choice that is made where spirit and matter choose each other to become human beings. And now this card seems to be that choice also, to love enough, to give yourself to this enough, to give enough passion to this, and to bring a pure heart to it, so much so that you remember where you came from. You remember, spirit remembers, and the physical body gets to remember with it. So I wanted to share this. I found it very exciting. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful lover's card. I love the art of it. I think that the movement that's created by those red lines, and the intertanglement of the lovers themselves are so superb. And the colors in the card, other than that bright red and white, are actually very dull colors, and I think that is a magnificent choice, because if you made this a very colorful, sort of very bright card, it would lose its power. What it is this happens in a quiet, sometimes unexpected place. This is the everyday world that just in some ways seems humdrum. We're just used to it. And we go into this space of sacred lovemaking, and everything becomes illuminated. This next card is very different. It comes from the Chrysalis Tarot, which is one of those tarots that for me is, how can I say it? I have favorite cards that come from the Chrysalis Tarot, and then I have cards where I'm like, I have no idea what this means. So I'm still working with it, but I did want to share this card and probably several others from this deck. What this brought to mind immediately, it feels pagan. These two human lovers are about to make a choice. The two doves are there. I'm not sure exactly what that means or whether that's taken from Judeo-Christian iconography. There are white doves that occur in nature, but then there are all these animals, both domestic and wild. And this king, where is he coming from and what's he got to do with it? Maybe he's going to officiate. I'm not sure. But all of this is happening beneath this enormous tree. There's over on one side, on the left-hand side, you can see that there's something that's reminiscent perhaps of Stonehenge. So there's perhaps a druidical part of this. The sun and the moon are both out. So this is something that is important, universally important. The sky is paying attention. And this world tree, which could be the tree of life or Yggdrasil, there's trees of life in many traditions, or it can just be these are children of the forest, and they understand that. So let me read the poem for you, which is called The Choice. The Choice. If we marry beneath this old tree with its gnarled roots purple in the dusk, it is not just each other we choose. All these relatives, deer, owl, rabbit, and doves, cat, sheep, and horse, even this old man risen from the grass, all involved in this marriage. The sun and moon bear witness. We consider our choice. Await the kiss. So in some ways, again, with this pagan theme, this can feel like the sacred marriage. But I do want to say, before I get into talking about all that, is that the beginning of the poem says, if we choose each other, it's not just each other we're choosing. And that is so true, because when you marry someone, you marry their family, you marry their friends, sometimes you marry their occupation. All of those things are there. And sometimes we don't always take that into consideration, and we marry someone that comes with a bunch of stuff that is just not going to fit into our lives or that we don't feel comfortable with. So again, this is the big choice card. Do we make this choice? These two seem to understand that this marriage that they are agreeing to includes not just them, but all of these creatures, all of these animals that are named one by one, even this old man arising from the ground. I think when I was writing that as a poem, I wasn't thinking about him at all as an officiant, but perhaps as an ancestor who has just joined the feast from underground. That is a very different kind of marriage. But this seems to me that it can also be very applicable to any of us making these choices now. That if we choose someone, we have to understand that our choice involves everybody in the world, and by everybody I am giving personhood to all of those creatures, all of those animals, all of the green plants, the tree itself, the sun, the moon, all of it is involved in our marriage. Because if we are together, when we are in relationship in this kind of very committed way, we become aware, if we're lucky, that we are also in relationship to everything else that's on this earth. And making that vow, choosing this, is saying, I accept my responsibility not only to you, but to all my relatives, all my relations, all the animals, all the plants, the rivers, the water, and the sun and moon can bear witness to this. I will be true to this. This is a huge choice, and I think it's a choice that more and more people are making. Sometimes the Lover's card is actually about making a choice like that and doesn't have anything to do with the choice of an individual itself. This might just be a choice of marrying the land, of giving yourself to an occupation, a vocation that works toward healing the land, toward making the land more livable, more sustainable, by teaching people how we are all connected. Sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean that we are marrying a person. It might mean that we're marrying this cause. We're marrying the land. So this card I find a very interesting card to be coming up at this particular time in history, when the world is imperiled, when the most important thing any of us can do is realize that we are in relationship. We are in relationship to other human beings. We are in relationship to all our relatives, all the animals, all the plants, even things that the European mentality would see as non-living, like rivers and lakes and stones and clouds, are seen as having personhood, as having a right to be here. And wow, I would add to that climate. That climate itself has personhood, that we have messed with our relationship to the land and to the climate so much that we have made changes that are deadly to many species, and hopefully not to ours. So this card seemed like a really important card to include in the Lovers, as it is a card of choice, it is a card of commitment, and is a card of relationship. So this next card I want to look at is from the Wild Unknown Tarot. And it is a picture of two Canada geese flying together. And one of the things that we know about Canada geese is that they are monogamous. They stay together for their whole lifetime. Wild geese. How many times have we flown this route together, my love? Through rainbows of seasons and weather, beneath the sun's rays or in moonlight. We make a shape everyone recognizes. How many times have we flown together, my love? So one of the things you can do as a poet, as you can take the voice of anyone, and this is a persona poem. I am speaking as one of the geese, one of the lovers, and speaking very literally of this journey that we take, but also metaphorically, because in long-term relationships with our lovers, with our partners, we take the same journey many times together. And I wanted specifically to have the one addressing the other as my love. And we have all gone through those seasons, right? Through rainbows, and I say rainbows of seasons and weather because the seasons of our life and the actual weather and the emotional weather that we've traveled together beneath the sun's rays, as they are doing here, you know, when it is sunny and everything looks good, or in moonlight, through darker times when things are not as clear. One of the things about, of course, Canada geese when they are migrating is they make that very recognizable sign in the sky, which is which is the V sign. So I wanted to have that in there. That's relating specifically to the geese, but I also wanted to imply that somehow there is a shape that lovers make that others recognize. It seems to me that sometimes when we meet people who have been in long relationships together, there is some kind of a shape that they make, that we recognize somehow that these are a couple that have been together, who are meant to be together, who have been through all kinds of things together, and that somehow has, I want to say, almost a spiritual shape to it, that there's something we recognize between them. And so this card from the Wild Unknown Tarot, which I have grown to love so much, has these marvelous cards with no human beings in it. And of course, as humans, we can see our stories in them, because that's one of the things we do, is we make the stories relatable somehow to ourselves. But that those other than human creatures have things to teach us, and this is certainly one. This huge journey they go on, and they do it year after year after year together, as the same couple, is really magnificent. And wow, I mean, most human beings, we have a lot to learn about that. We don't always know how to maintain this kind of relationship, how to go through all the seasons of sun and moonlight and shadow and all the different weathers that are going to happen during our lifetime. Sometimes if we think of ourselves as not the sort of pinnacle of creation that European thought has, but more as we're the younger relatives. We have a lot to learn from the non-human world. I think it can be very helpful. And so one of the things I love about the Wild Unknown is that we get a chance to look at these non-human representations of situations and ideas and sometimes deep spiritual knowledge with no human beings involved. We have to look at them and say, wow, how do we learn from this? And this is another one of those cards that for me just, I mean, well, it's magnificent. It glows and doesn't love glow, you know, so there is that. I can't also help mentioning the rainbow of it, which just to me also says, you love who you love. This rainbow that is in the sun itself, that is part, you know, of the sun. If the light goes through a prism, a drop of water, whatever, you get the rainbow. It's completely natural, whoever it is you love. So I hope you love this beautiful card of the wild geese as much as I do. Well, this card from the Anna K Tarot really just touched my heart. because most of the time we're seeing images of young people in the first flush of love and passion. And we have seen some very different images, but I was very happy to see that the lovers in this one are lovers who have been lovers, I imagine, for a long time. I love the bush. I love the sunshine, or the yellow sky that implies somehow sunshine to me. Um, the look on both their faces, they just look happy. He holds her around the waist. She has her hand on his thigh that he also holds. Just the smile of contentment on her face. And then they have this old dog underneath them, uh, who you have a sense has probably been coming here for a while also. So let me read you the poem that this inspired, and then we can talk about it a little more. This is called Today, the Wild Roses. They've sat on this bench before. Today, the wild roses climbed the wall. They've sat here when snow covered the ground, and in light spring rain, and under falling leaves, in evening and morning and afternoon. She leans her head against his cheek. One of his arms is around her waist, the other holding hers, resting on his thigh. She wears her favorite burgundy dress. He wears his favorite boots, laced above his ankles. Their old black dog lies at their feet. He loves this spot they walk to every day. He sighs in contentment, lays his head on his paws. One of the things that I found that is fun when I'm now that I'm in my 70s, people think, oh, you just put on whatever you're gonna put on, a t-shirt, but no, I think that it's fun to get dressed up and to celebrate and to look good for the person in your life, if you still have that person, or even if it is just yourself, that you can make yourself look nice. I grew up in a poor family, and so if we had a new piece of clothing, something beautiful, we saved it for special occasions. Sometimes you would grow so much that by the time the next special occasion came around, you didn't have a chance to wear it, and it went to your younger sister or cousin. Um, and I think that sometimes affected me, so that I had things in my closet that I wasn't wearing because I was like keeping for something special. And now I'm like, you're over 70. Every day is special. Just waking up is special. So I love it that this older woman who has gray hair has on this beautiful burgundy, I don't know what you call it. It's an overdress of some kind. And that he also is wearing something with the same or very similar color in the sleeves. And I mentioned that he's wearing his favorite boots, because I think it's important to treat ourselves to that, for ourselves and for anyone else in our lives who might love us, that they can see us at our most beautiful, and that we can feel beautiful in those clothes, in those colors, that we like. Um, I love the wild roses that are climbing up above them. We lived in a house one time where I had to cut back the roses all the time. And by the end of summer, they looked like this every summer. They just bloomed and bloomed and bloomed and bloomed. And they were the simple five-petaled roses, so they were wild. And so I really love that that was there, because they just keep coming back. They just keep coming back. And I feel like this card of a couple that has gone on over the years, and, with so many things that must have happened in their lives. And yet here they are, and they keep coming back to this spot. I imagined them as a poet, taking my own license, that they came here in all seasons, in the snow, in spring rains, in uh, good times and bad, and at nighttime, and that this dog, for however long he's been around, he's not a young dog, um, has come with him, um, and that he is as content as they are. He is there between the legs of the man, um, and he's very content. The looks on their faces, I think, are so contented, and to reach this kind of comfortableness with another person is such a great gift. I know also that if they are older, they know that every day they have together is a gift. Not only all the days, all the memories that they already have, but that literally every day is a gift. You don't know what's coming. So I particularly love that. I love the painting. I love the color in her cheeks, as if she's blushing at a thought she might have had or something he might have said, that she can still be totally content and comfortable with him, and yet a little bit shy. And I enjoyed that. I love the way his hand is sort of protectively over hers without even thinking about it. It doesn't seem like it's protective in any kind of condescending way, but just that she puts her hand out and he just covers it because that's what he does. They have been so long together that they just sit on this bench as they have for so many years. Thank you for being with me today, and the next time we get together, we'll be looking at the Chariot.